Yeah, tough one. Tough to come up here and talk about it afterwards, but we've got a big game on Wednesday, and so it's just time to respond.
Hey, Ryan. When you came off, was it related at all to your foot?
I got a bad tackle in the first half, but no, I feel okay. Yeah.
I guess, as Steve was saying, he doesn't think anyone played well tonight. That was just poor individual performances all around. What do you think happened?
Yeah, it's hard to put your finger on something like that. Maybe you make a mistake once or twice early, and then you're just always trying to play catch up. It's a good moment for us in this part of the season to not take things for granted, to look back at what's caused our success over the last 12 games, and to make sure that we don't get in this rhythm of just thinking results are going to come. And so obviously not the way we want to play in a game like this, and a chance to see Columbus again for the first time since the Cup last year. But I think it's the right time in the season for us to understand and realize that games in this league are not easy. And although we've been on a good streak, it doesn't just come easy. And so a big game again for us on Wednesday to respond and show that we know how to play at the highest level. We know how to respond when things aren't going well, or when we have a result like this where things didn't go well for a game. And so I think you'll see a good turnaround from the guys.
And over the course of this unbeaten streak, while the offense has been great, it's really been the defense that LAFC has seemed to hang their hat on. A game like tonight, and you being one of the players on the back line, your feelings, your thoughts on how the defense really kind of didn't show up tonight more than anything else.
Yeah, I think it's the same in every phase of the game. Defensively, it's a team effort. Offensively, it's a team effort. It's so hard when we aren't keeping the ball in possession, when we aren't dictating the pace of the game, especially at home. I think we need to grow in the next stage of learning to weather the storm and be okay with that. And I think there's an antsiness in us, especially at home, when things aren't going the right way, where we start getting stretched or we start losing our discipline a little bit because we're just trying to chase the game. I think you saw that tonight. A lot of individual guys making runs one at a time rather than the collective going together. And so it just happens. I've been in this league for so long. It's never a good feeling to lose, ever. It's never a good feeling to lose like this at home. But I've been in the league too long to know it really depends on how we respond from this. And this result can just mean so little. It can mean a lot if we respond the wrong way, and it can mean so little if we respond the right way. And so I think you'll see a group ready to respond. And man, this group just has so much confidence, even in a bad performance like that, which can happen. This group has so much confidence that we can get back out there and do it better. So,
Ryan, just to piggyback off your comment about this being the time after the first time since you've played Columbus in the final. 8 out of the 11 starters that took the pitch today started in that Cup final. How would you assess this Columbus team versus the team last year?
Yeah, really good team, well coached, a team that we don't get to see very often and haven't seen very often historically. And so this kind of East-West matchup is always a good test for us to play against a team that we have to kind of learn on the fly. And so we know them from last year, but really that was the first time we'd seen them for a long time. So really good team, good individual players, coached really well. A lot of individual talent, big time players like Cucho, that's just one of the best players in the league. And their front three, Rossi, a big time player. Obviously that meant a lot to this club at a time as well. So you can talk about every one of their players, and there's a reason that they won it last year, and there's a reason that they're again fighting for big things this year. So yeah, they played well. We gotta put our hats off to them for playing that way. I hope we get to see them again.
Yep. A couple from me. Does this feel like a reality check, or what do you take from this kind of result against a really good team, and you guys were unbeaten in 13, and all of a sudden this happens? How do you sort of process that?
Yeah, I think you said it well, because, you know, the first thing in these moments is you want to hang your head and you want to point fingers and you want to say it wasn't my fault, it was this guy's fault or that guy's fault. And in these moments, like I said, you have to look at the macro, not the micro. You have to look at the 12 out of 13 games that we've won, and you have to look at how do we respond, where we are in the season. Plenty of games left in the season, a lot to fight, everything to fight for. And what's crazy in football is you lose 1-0, you lose 5-4, or you lose 5-1, it's 0 points, you know? And so we can let this be something that becomes frustrating or becomes all these things, or we can let it be something that fuels us into going and fighting for trophies. So I have no doubt the way that we're going to respond. And instead of getting into this like, oh my gosh, we lost at home. I mean, we're undefeated at home until tonight. There's so many positives about the way that we're playing football right now. And to show up and have an off night, although it's not acceptable, it needs to be this mindset of push it aside, respond well.
You obviously don't have to sleep on this loss for months, right? That's what happened with the MLS Cup. You talked about that match sort of getting nightmares, and you thought about that. Is that even something that could be a result of this match? Could you like sort of sit in that, or because you have a game on Wednesday and you have League's Cup coming up, like you just let this go? How different is this?
Yeah. It's, you know, it's always easier said than done, right? We're all competitors. Nobody likes to get beat like this. I'm gonna go home to my son, my 7-year-old son, who's probably gonna be crying more than I am, you know, because he just loves what Dad does. He's so competitive. He wants to win, and he luckily gets to be a part of a lot of games we're winning at home, you know. And so we have that inside of us, that pride of we never want to let our fans down. We never want to stand in front of the 3252 clapping after a big loss. Never. It's never what any of us want to do. But again, that is the sport. Just as much as we can put those beatings on teams, we are susceptible to that. Luckily enough, since I've been here, this doesn't happen often, and we need to keep it that way.
And just wondering about positives, and you know, one of the positives I suppose is the two teams even with you both lost in games where it was pretty one-sided as well.
Yeah. That's a really good point. A point that I made earlier today. You know, I think Galaxy lost 2-0,
And it could have been much worse.
and it could have been worse. 2-0, they get 0 points. 5-1, we get 0 points. A loss is a loss in this league. It doesn't matter what it looks like unless you let it become something that drags you down into further results and further games. So we're not going to let that happen.